As one of the most iconic big game animals in the West, a mature mule deer buck is easily the most sought-after trophy west of the Mississippi. Best of the West Productions has filmed mule deer hunts in 8 western states, as well as in Mexico and Canada. Always a fan favorite, there's nothing quite like getting your hands on a big rack.
Wow. How's he gonna look in the wall? Look at those chocolate horns.
Whether it's your first buck or finest buck, the sense of accomplishment is the same. Over the years, we've been privileged to hunt with various Make-A-Wish programs for children and teenagers. We've been honored to hunt with the Purple Heart Outdoor Tour and the brave soldiers that currently defend our country.
Another great deer today.
We've hunted with world champion bull riders, pro athletes, and country music stars. Our longest shot on a muley goes to Robin Rick. She dumped her mountain muley from 908 yards away.
Whack. Busted his shoulder.
Pretty nice old mountain buck, kind of heavy and dark horned. Not real big, but he's a nice buck.
Over the years, there have been plenty of thrills and spills in the pursuit of big bucks. So whether you like them trashy or typical, wide or tall, you're going to enjoy this week's episode of the Best of the West. We're thrilled to be hunting on the Daly Ranch in Gillette, Wyoming on this week's long-range hunting adventure.
My family came to this part of northeast Wyoming in 1894 is when we homesteaded here. And the history of our ranch is we've been running cattle for that duration, for that time period, and we've been running hunters on our ranch for the last 70 years or so. We only take a handful of deer every year off a very large acreage, which permits us to get age on our deer and be very selective on the quality and the size of deer that we actually harvest every year. And so it's a very unique place. I tell my hunters every year that they can expect to see 40 plus mature mule deer a day, and there's not a lot of places in the world where that opportunity presents itself. I've been a mule deer junkie my whole life. I mean, I travel all over the world, and I've been fortunate enough to hunt all over the world. I never stop looking at deer. My wife jokes that I drive down the highway and slam on the brakes to every mule deer I see, but I love mule deer, and so that's how I grew up. It's a blessing and a curse in the context of they're my passion. I love big mule deer. I love looking at deer.
My name's Joe Michaelitz. I'm from Mankato, Minnesota, and I'm out here at the Daly Ranch in Gillette, Wyoming. I'm a partner owner with Best of the West out of Cody, Wyoming. For those of you that aren't familiar with Best of the West rifles, they're really unbelievable. I bought my first one about 10 years ago. You know, they come guaranteed accurate to 1,000 yards out of the box, and I almost couldn't believe that, so of course I had to buy one. And took it out of the box and set it up on the bench, turned the turret to 400 yards, and shot 3 times. And I had a group that was about an inch at 400 yards, and I couldn't really believe it. I thought it was a fluke, so I had to go back and shoot the gun again, and it did the exact same thing. I kind of have become obsessed with Best of the West rifles, and I got to know all the people at Best of the West, Jack Peterson, the CEO, and I became kind of a raving fan, and I've bought a lot of rifles. Like I said, it's kind of a sickness. I own over, I think, 60 of them right now. Have become a pro dealer, and I just like to watch people shoot 1,000 yards. My wife never shot a rifle before. Her 6th shot, working out to 1,000 yards, hit a 6-inch plate with her 6th shot at 1,000 yards. So. These rifles are unbelievable. The Huskama optics are unbelievable. Yeah. It's so easy to use. We encourage people to go through a class, a training clinic, because it's just worth it, but at the same time you don't have to be able to shoot these guns. They're just user-friendly and super accurate.
When the Best of the West returns, Joe puts on a clinic of his own. The Best of the West is brought to you by Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Zeiss spotting scopes and range-finding binoculars. Huntin' Fool. The Best of the West shooting systems. Defiance Custom Actions. The Wild Sheep Foundation. Huskama Optics and LongRangeStore.com.
We were hunting all morning. Actually, we saw a really nice mule deer buck right at sunrise. It was really tempting to not go after that buck. We named him Sunrise just to kind of keep him in the back pocket in case we needed to come back and if we didn't find a better buck on the property. My guide, Tad, he is obviously familiar with their property. They've got 100,000 acres here. I don't know how many miles of roads and trails there are. The goal is just to kind of cover ground. So we just drive around real slow. We're glassing. There's so much area to cover. And we just kind of drive from ridge to ridge to ridge. And certain areas we'll get out and walk a little bit and just kind of cover more ground. We'll all glass from different areas. But it's amazing what we see, especially in the first hour of light. There's just deer and antelope. The place just comes alive. You know, from sun up to sundown, we take a break, an hour break for lunch, but otherwise we're all glassing and working. And the guides here, Kellen and Tad, are very experienced, and obviously they know where to look and where to focus our time. But yet we spotted a lot of deer in areas where they don't usually see deer. But you know, when you got 4 guys glassing, you do cover more ground and you can see stuff if you look hard enough. We were kind of finishing up the hunt in the morning, and off in the distance we spotted 3 mule deer bucks, a bachelor group together. The big one really stood out, and so we just tried to figure out the best way to come after this thing. And the buck was bedded, all 3 of them were bedded. Couldn't really get a great shot. I mean, we had a good shot, but we didn't really want to risk not hitting it in the vitals in the bedding position. So our guide Tad had a predator call, and he was wheeling on that thing to get the deer to stand up. And of course they do, and the 2 smaller bucks stand up right in front of the big buck, and I can't shoot, and they all turned around and left right over the hill, never got a shot. So kind of anxious, thinking, oh geez, now what? But again, Tad said they probably didn't go too far. We can go around, locate them again, and get set up on them. And we spotted them again, kind of down the same ridge farther. And fortunately, there was a nice draw, a deep draw that really paralleled them. So we got down on this draw, maybe a quarter mile, came up over the edge, and there they were, right there, 175 yards away. I'm on him and ready to shoot. It bedded down, so once again we had to blow on the predator call to get him to stand up, which he did, and I was able to make a nice shot on him.
Good job, buddy.
All right.
I work real hard all year to take the time off in the fall to enjoy this. I have a strong faith, and my faith feels the most present when I'm out in God's nature, God's country, enjoying it. Walked up on the animal and saw just how beautiful it was and how large the rack was. It's kind of an overwhelming moment, you know, for those of you that love to hunt, like I do. Every time I get out, it's an adventure. It's kind of a grace-filled moment, or a blessing, if you will. And it's just, you know, it's our instincts. And I don't know, I was just pretty overwhelmed at the beauty of this animal and the beauty of the place we were at. You know, feel like I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world. Best of the West rifle, you can't beat them. Haven't missed with one yet. So 7M mag, plenty of power for this big guy. It was fun. Well,
Great job.
We got to go find one for Wade now. Thanks again. Thanks, Tad. Yeah.
Oh, great job.
You know, we barely touched 100,000 acres. I can't wait to see and hunt the rest of this property out here. Just a first-class operation, great people. There's no pressure on these deer. They grow up, they get big. It's just a beautiful, beautiful country. Can't wait to come back next year.
Hi, my name is Wade Brown with Best of the West. I've been with them for about 3.5 years. Work in the sales department as well as shooting instructor for Best of the West for the last 2 years. You know, my primary role at Best of the West is, you know, I do a lot of shooting instruction and do them across the country, and I've got to where I just absolutely love watching someone shoot a 1,000-yard target the first time in their life. You know, a lot of them may have only shot 100 or 200 yards as their farthest shot, and to watch the excitement on their face when they start shooting these targets at distance with Best of the West custom shooting systems is just, that's always what drove me. So to have the opportunity to have roles reversed where, you know, the lights are on me and I've got to make the shot, it just made it to where it was even better. It tied all of my experience watching other people shoot and hit targets or hunt or whatever it was, but to be able to have the roles reversed, you know, it's going to make me really appreciate teaching more schools as we move forward. One thing that amazed me out here is, you know, it doesn't look like mule deer country. You know, it looks like it should be full of antelope, which there are numerous number of antelope here, but, you know, everywhere we thought that you know, there wouldn't be a deer, there was, you know, deer, and not just deer, but big deer. We got to see so many bucks. Just incredible the amount of deer we got to go through in the last 2.5 days, and really just kicking myself thinking about going through, and man, I probably passed on that one when I shouldn't have, and but you know, the guide Tad just kept telling me, no, just be patient, we're gonna come across one. You know, so being in on Joe Michelitz's hunt yesterday and getting to see how he went through the whole process, and you know, we were able to find him a great buck that he was able to put a sneak on and made a great shot and drop that with our Best of the West rifles. You know, later in the afternoon, we kind of went through a lot of deer during the morning, and in the afternoon, we kind of got to a point where we put all of our eggs in a basket to try a new part of the ranch that we hadn't been on, and you know, we spotted what looked to be a pretty good deer about a mile away, and so as we got closer, it kind of went to the other side of the mountain, so we kind of had to go and hide in a ditch, and you know, it's getting close to dark as we put the sneak on, and sure enough, the big deer decided he wanted to bed down, you know, right at dark. So you know, we kind of were waiting and realized we had about 10 minutes of light left, and I really didn't know if this was going to be the time, and you know, just because with it laying down and just worried about it getting up for us to get a great shot on it, and he was laying about 435 yards away, and kind of made the decision that, you know, it's either going to make or break. So I did a spot shot just to try to get him to stand up, and you know, right at when I fired, he bolted, which normally they just kind of stand up, and it, you know, allows you to get a quick follow-up shot. But he ran about 50 yards quick and got behind the doe, and I was able to get back on him and wait for the doe to kind of slowly walk away. And once that happened, I was able to release a shot with the Best of the West 6.5 PRC and just made an incredible shot and put it right where we wanted it.
He's facing left. Now he's walking.
The Best of the West is brought to you by Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Zeiss spotting scopes and range-finding binoculars. Huntin' Fool. The Best of the West shooting systems. Defiance Custom Actions. The Wild Sheep Foundation. Huskama Optics and LongRangeStore.com. For information about hunting with Daly Ranch Outfitters, please contact Tad Daly at 307-680-1034 or online at DalyRanchOutfitters.com. For more information about the products and gear used on today's show, please visit LongRangeStore.com or call 1-866-754-7618.
Now he's walking.
Something.
Where is he?
Rack one.
He just went up and do it. Good job, man. Best of the West.
That was a nice buck. You know, this is the first mule deer I've ever shot. To have that opportunity on an unbelievable piece of property to get that shot, just words don't really express kind of what we went through. And to be able to do it with some of my best friends and co-workers and clients, and to have it all together and just put together an unbelievable dream hunt, just it was really priceless. So very happy.
Whew. Beautiful deer.
That's a beauty. Wow. Here, let me take the phone.
Really just want to thank Tad and Kellen at Daly Ranch Outfitters. Just what an amazing opportunity. They did a great job of just getting us into positions to have a successful hunt, to drive around and be able to see a lot of deer, and then finally get the opportunity and put a sneak on and find a rock that was a perfect rest to get on to make a shot, and then half into a spot shot to get it to stand up, you know, with about 10 minutes of light left. And, you know, what an incredible hunt. You know, this is going to be one that stays in my memory bank for a long, long time. Great time.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Great deer.
Yeah.
I've hunted all over Wyoming my entire life, and a gentleman that works for me is from Gillette, and he told me that Gillette has the biggest mule deer in the state. I don't know if I quite believed him, coming from Cody in the mountains. I took a chance and came over here last year. He was right. In my mind, Gillette, Wyoming has some of the best mule deer hunting in the country, and especially on the Daly Ranch here. You know, last year I killed what I thought was going to be the biggest mule deer I'd ever kill in my life, so I was kind of seeing if they could do it again, or, you know, see one bigger, and we saw a lot of beautiful big deer here. On the last day of the hunt, saw the biggest deer that I've ever seen on the hoof. That was very, very exciting, and something that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Josh's deer, that was a fun hunt. Tad got eyes on him early. We were further north, so we came back and refound the deer. He was bedded in a bottom. He then got up and headed south up a draw. That was the last place we saw him, so we made a move to get around the hill. We made a stalk on him, thinking we could get within 100 yards of the last place we saw him, which we did. We sat there for about a half hour. We never ended up finding him. We were patient and glassed and saw some antelope come through right where we thought he was. So we retracted from there and went back to the north to get another spot on him. We still couldn't find him, and at the last minute, before we headed to look somewhere else, I got a little glimpse of a white spot in some deep sagebrush, and he laid down at right where we saw him the last. So we went back, made the same stalk, and we were patient. He finally stood up about 80 yards.
Oh, he's moving. He's up. He's up.
We didn't have a lot of time. In fact, we could never get him to stop, so I had to shoot pretty quick. You know, using a Best of the West gun, I was able to knock this deer of a lifetime down here. So very, very exciting, very thankful. And mule deer hunting has always been my favorite type of game to hunt. It's a very, very difficult animal to hunt, especially to get a big mule deer. People hunt their whole lives and never get a trophy. They're almost ghosts. You see them one minute, they're gone the next, and you may never see them again. A mule deer trophy to me is almost the ultimate trophy here in Wyoming. Well, I just want to thank the Daly Ranch again. 2 years in a row, killed my #1 and #2 deer out here, so that's pretty special. I want to thank Best of the West too. Phenomenal firearms. You know, everybody here used one. I've had one since I think they started, and they just keep getting better and better and better, and you know, pushing the limits. And you know, technology, they just are at the forefront of it. So thank you guys.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Best of the West. Please join us next week for more long-range hunting adventures.